grandchildren and my son and daughter-in-law. One is dressed like a Star Wars stormtrooper. One was Harry Potter. One was somebody else. One was a superhero, and they had all dressed in costumes. From Boston.
Oh, that's sweet.
Any reason to get dressed up, I guess.
There you go.
Got it.
No. Very cute. Hey, Jamie. How you doing?
Hello.
I don't know.
Actors gotta act, Marge.
Yeah,
Actors gotta act.
that's right. That's right. Well,
My show, I'm trying to push my show into next April because I have lost momentum and I don't care anymore. And my husband this week is going to make our 16-day reservations at Disney for next May.
if you're lucky, Paula.
Well, but the thing is, you've got to make the reservations or you'll never get there.
You know, and I worry because I have all those plane
You can always
credits.
cancel those.
I don't think they're going to be, I can't imagine flying anywhere for the next over a year, so who knows?
You know, my daughter used to work for Disney Marvel, so that was nice when we had the free missions, but she doesn't work for them anymore.
Yeah, we're annual pass holders, so I can go anytime I want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've still
We
never
went in
been.
February for the first time in 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
The culture shock because it had changed so much.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did it. I was not excited about taking this trip, but it turned out to be fabulous. And we went with the kids and grandkids who had never been. It was celebrating our significant birthdays. And so it was a very nice experience, much better than I had anticipated. And I'm glad because everything else has gotten canceled.
My hat's off to my husband whose love of Disney sustained, even though for the reason why he wasn't hired. He went to audition to be an Imagineer back in 1971.
Wow.
And
Really?
you had to be cookie cutter back then. And my husband is fat. And they all but said, "You've got to be kidding me." And so he wasn't even considered. And he's brilliant. He's an engineer. So it was tough, but it didn't, his appreciation for it didn't wane. And of course, now everyone works at Disney. It doesn't matter what you look like, or, if you're missing limbs or in a wheelchair or old or young, doesn't matter. So, but he's been going for 50 years. And that's why we're going next year, because we go a couple times a year every year. So.
Well, I was happy.
We have only another minute,
all the
ladies.
Star Wars
I'm
things.
going to stop
And then
this.
we went to Universal Studios and did all the Harry Potter with the wands.
There you go.
Kids could do all those special things. So as far as I was concerned, it was perfect.
That's terrific.
I want to say, Roberta.
All right, I'm going to mute. I'm sorry to stop this, ladies.
Margie, Roberta won't be on today because somebody cut the cable in the neighborhood and nobody has television or computer or any of those things.
Oh, wow. Well, we're taping it so eventually she can re-listen to it. So I'm going to mute everybody except for Rabbi and me. And it's been great chatting. I love great picture, Adele. Happy Mother's Day to everybody that's on the phone. If you're a mom, you had a mom, you knew a mom, you hated your mom, you loved your mom, your aunt was your mom, whatever. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And we're going to celebrate together one way or the other this morning, afternoon. And Rabbi, and anybody new? I don't see new faces. I don't want anyone to feel like we're not welcoming them. Oh, well, if you're new, welcome, welcome. And Rabbi is going to take this away.
Thank you. So as Margie said, happy Mother's Day to all. For many of us, it's a fantastic day because we can celebrate with our children and our mothers, no matter how far away we might be. And for others, it's a very difficult day. Think about all those who may have never had the fortune to be able to be a mother, infertility, not finding the right person, not having the right good relationship with your mother, or because your mother has passed and she's no longer with you. I know there are a number on this call who it's within a couple of months, a couple of years of losing their mother. And I can just tell you that each day I appreciate mine more and more. I'd say it even if she wasn't on the call, but she made it look really easy. I don't know how. yesterday, I was thinking my Mother's Day present would be great if I could just have a day to not have to deal with my kids. Then I felt really badly about that. So they went and walked to my friend's house on Shabbat afternoon, and they asked me why I didn't want to go. I'm like, because it's my period of time when it's going to be quiet in the house, and come back and I'll appreciate you more. So we should appreciate all we have, but also realize that there are many who this is a really painful day to have. So as I said the other day, I don't know, I feel like I have this connection to Judy Kenter on this one, because she said, well, if you don't do it on Sunday, you'll do it another day. When I said, I'll try to find a psalm that's related to Mother's Day. And I kid you not, when I Googled Psalm for Mother's Day, Psalm 36, which we're up to, came up as a psalm that was appropriate for Mother's Day. I have to say it was a bit of a stretch when I finally figured out what they all meant on it, but you'll see. But it's ironic that it was one of the Psalms. The other two choices that they had were Psalm 27, a few verses in that, and Psalm 5, but we did both of those already. So there you go. Rita, if you ever need some tumult, I'll send you well, I won't send you Cameron. She's the easiest, but it's amazing how tumult can be made just by one voice. But I love them. I love them. They're great, but they're all getting bigger than me now. So I guess that's.
I don't
like
know if I
some
spelled that correctly, but.
I don't know. They're a huge blessing. That I know. I appreciate all of them. So let's analyze why Psalm 36 was ironic, like totally ironic that it said that it could be for Mother's Day. So the psalmist's thoughts. He had a free day. He was free from work, free to play, free, I thought, from God. So he went outside and he saw nature. He saw the birds and the sky. There's a description of possibly in the analysis that the bird caught the fish. Nature, God was all in the air. God's righteousness is all around us. There's a concept that there's a Yetzer Hara, there's an evil inclination in all of us. And some who think that there's an evil inclination say there's no God, there's no reason to fear God. And then the good inclination, the Yetzer HaTov, develops once we become more mature. So you'll see, I'm getting to how it's connected to Mother's Day. It took a stretch. Some of the highlights of the psalm. My university that I went to, Barnard College at Columbia University, this seal of Columbia University comes from this verse 9 in this psalm. In thy light shall we see light. So from God's light, we infer more light. So it's kind of cool that the psalm, that Columbia's logo is from here. There's also a section where we get the ideas of having empathy towards animals, animal rights and animal protection in verse 7, ecological and theological thoughts of animals. I'll get to the actual verses shortly. Some of the verses that are in our liturgy, in our prayer book, there's a section called Tzidkat Tzedek on the Shabbat Mincha, and some of the verses are from here. Some have a meditation when you wrap the talit, comes from some verses in this psalm. There's another part of a Shabbat prayers are from here. One of the verses is in Slichot, and some say this psalm on behalf of those who are sick. It's also in the Mariv for the evening service for Yom Kippur. So a lot of different verses come from this one psalm. You know, the liturgy has taken some of it. So our discussion is the consequence of faith in God. And this is where it was so beautiful that I actually quizzed my daughter who takes her English language as AP exam shortly. I said, how do you see Mother's Day in this psalm, Cameron? And analyze it for me. She's like, oh, this is like what I do in English. So she said, well, you could see that in the psalm, it describes God as being so providing for you so much, like a mother does. So, you know, and she's like cute. She's like, you know how they always say that God's a man? And this one, it seems like God's a woman and God's the mother in it, where God provides for all of us. And truly, that is what the psalm says, that it's the protection of the mothers in the shadow of God's wings. Similar to God protects us in the wings, so do mothers. God's protection, a mother's protection. God is a mother figure, which is really nice for once. And that God creates the light in everyone's world. So the text of the psalm is given that David authored it for the chief musician of the temple. And as I speak, you might want to see it. So give me 1 minute. It's going to be tricky here. Just want to make sure should be on there. Yes, Margie? Yes, it is? Okay, good. So it was possibly written, they say, either after David was attacked by Saul or his son Absalom. So again, he's writing it after a difficult situation. The psalm begins with a complaint against the malice of his enemies. And he begins by decrying the sinfulness of sin. But then David lauds God's goodness towards people and all creatures. So that's where we get the animal rights idea. And then he gets his refuge from God, his protection from God. We get our protection from our mothers. And the verses, well, I'll read it and then I'll tell you, God's faithfulness has no bounds. A mother's love, and yes, we all have different relationships with our parents, have no bounds as well. So we begin, as I said, for the chief musician of David, the servant of the Lord. I know what transgression says to the wicked. She has no sense of the dread of God. So one who transgresses, who has no fear of sin and is wicked, also has no fear of God. That's why they're sinning, because they don't have a fear of God. For one flatters herself in her own mind, thinking none can find out or hate her sin. So it's like, well, no one's going to find out what I'm going to do, so I'm going to do it anyway. But if you have the idea that God's watching you, you're not going to do it. In bed, she plots mischief. She's set on a path of no good. She does not reject evil. So the person's up to really bad stuff. O Lord, your loving kindness reaches to heaven, your faithfulness to the sky. So this is the verse that we connect to mothers, that your God's loving kindness, women's loving kindness reaches to the heavens. So you can't put an amount to it. And we have our first instance of the word chesed in verse 6. Your beneficence is like the high mountains, your judgments like the great deep. Lord, your protection to humankind and beast. So again, here we connect this to mothers, that the goodness of a mother is just like the high mountains, as high as could be, as wide as could be. How precious is your loving kindness, God. Humankind finds shelters in the shadow of your wings. Ma yakar chastacha Elohim. So how beautiful, how precious is the chesed that is done from God. Change that to how great is the chesed that a mother's love can be. So our second example of the word chesed in this psalm. They feast on the rich fare of your house. You let them drink at your refreshing stream. So of course, as I said before, everyone has a different relationship, but in most, at least Jewish mothers, stereotype, you probably can't leave the house without having some sort of refreshment, some sort of nourishment. With you is the fountain of life. By your light do we see light. So this is the verse that actually the Orcha near Or is what Columbia uses their motto, their logo. And in different places, just so you know, it gets very confusing reading. The Jewish text, so the Old Testament, if you want to call it that, the Old Testament text and the Septuagint and other editions actually divide the lines and number the lines and also number the chapters differently. So for some, this might be verse 9, verse 10 here, and for some it's verse 10. So the fountain of life, no matter what your relationship was with your mother, Mekor Chaim, a mother is the fountain of life and the one who gives us life. Bestow your loving kindness on those devoted to you and your beneficence on upright people. Our third example of chesed in this psalm. So we ask God to give us all loving kindness. Let not the foot of the arrogant tread on me, or the hand of the wicked drive me away. So it seemed like it was not as personal, it was general, and now he's getting to his personalness here, the writing to himself. David says, don't let the foot of the arrogant tread on me. And I wonder if that's where, forgive me, is it the Marines that say, don't tread on me? There's one of our arms of the military says something about treading on a person. So don't step all over me. They are lively evildoers, fallen, thrust down, unable to rise. So the evildoers will be pushed down. They can't get up. They'll get their just reward because there it's like a cycle. At the beginning, he talks about those who transgress and sin is because they don't believe in God. And then he ends with the evildoers are going to fall down and they're not going to be able to get up again because they don't believe in the power and not the power, but they don't believe in God. So I believe that even though I read that 36 was a connection to Mother's Day, it could be a little bit of a stretch, but we do see the loving kindness that comes out and the protective wings of God. And we can compare that to the love of a mother, perhaps. And I was thinking of even doing the psalm about breathing and that mothers give us the breath of our life from the very beginning. But this was a nice psalm, and it has many different ways that it connects to prayer. Dina.
Number 9 resonated with me. My grandmother, no matter when you enter her house, you better be hungry because you're going to eat whether you want it or you don't. She was forever feeding everybody, and not just us as her grandchildren. She would feed anybody that came to the door, the mailman, a neighbor, whatever. Oh, here, have this. So there was always something new, something different that she was going to feed us. And that number 9 resonated with me.
Good. So faithfulness and loving kindness. Somehow they translate it back and forth between if chesed means faith in this and the Psalms, they translate it differently, whether it means faithfulness or loving kindness. I personally, so that people when they're reading it can see right away our Women's League's Torah Fund theme. If I see the word chesed, I try to translate it into loving kindness. But I don't love the theological idea that if you follow things, then you'll have loving kindness. If you're faithful, then you'll have loving kindness, because there's so many who are faithful who don't necessarily get loving kindness. So
Andy Carlton.
Yeah, on the theme kind of Kesed, I just wanted to share this. My husband and son read from Our Daily Bread, which is a Methodist page booklet that they get every month. And as I was walking by them this morning, all of a sudden they're talking about Kesed. And in the Mother's Day reading today, they talked about forever love, dealing with a mother's love and then God's love, referring to Psalm 136. And then they talked about some other things. And then when they did Insight, they talked about Psalm 136 is structured around the refrain, his love endures forever, which is repeated in the second measure. And then it goes down and refers to a central theological theme in both the Psalm and in the Old Testament. Kesed sometimes translates steadfast love, referring to a love that's reliable and faithful and so on. But it mentions Kesed several times. So not only, does it come up for us, but be aware that it's a word that they're spreading to others as well in other religions. So when I saw this today, I said, I have to share this.
Thank you. So Psalms really does go across all faiths. And the psalm that you were referring to, Psalm 136, people might be familiar with. It's part of the Haggadah. And it's also, if you do that part of the Haggadah, it's the Hallel at the end of the service after you eat. And also it's in the Shabbat and holidays prayers all the time. It's the refrain, Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki li'olam chasto, Hodu l'Elohei ha'elolim ki li'olam chasto. So it's a few words, and then you say ki li'olam chasto several times for the 26 times of the psalm. So in Psalm 136, perhaps if we want to know when Chesed is written the most, it might be that verse, that psalm, because it's in every verse in that. So thank you, Sandra, for sharing that it's something that all faiths can focus on. We know somebody who, she has a prayer of Psalms, a verse from Psalms that gives her hope and strength almost every day. It's really quite beautiful. So I hope that we can have some loving kindness and spread our wings to protect people like God, if we're going to say that mothers are like God. But I know that having our sisters in Women's League, we are here for each other as well. So as I was showing my daughter the Mishaberach list, she's like, whoa, that's long. I said, yes, just think about it. I have 50 to 80 people on a call, and we're all from different communities. So we're all praying for a lot of people. So the Mishaberach prayer, we pray today for the following people. And I have to be able to read my handwriting, so I apologize. Evelyn Levine, Susan Falk, Shmuel Ben Erica, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Shimona Batsara, Yosef Ben Gittel, Sandy Mallon, Jace Diaz, Joe DiLorenzo, Shaya Eliyahu Ben Miriam, Charles Schwartz, Roni Mayer Ben Yonina, Ron Panzik, Judy Steinberg, Yenta Hodis Bat Esther, Benjamin Ben Shmuel Vilea, David Ben Sara, Toiba Ben Chana, Elisa Lazarus, Tim Wilson, Rachel Tema Bat Sarah, Mordechai Ben Ita, Jerry Katz, Sarah Karen, Sue Gruskin, Susan Falk, Bert Berlin, Alan Goldberg, Chana Zvi Ben Molcha, Malka Shifra Bat Etta Rachel, Loretta Maisie, Lori Cabot, Leah Bat Adina, Vicky Lockton, Adrian Sandheimer, Joe Gutman, Shmuel Ben Dov Ve'erica, Dov Ben Ita, Trudy Spector, Eleanor Clow, Rivka Bat Avram, Barbara Brown, Barish Ben Chana, Marcella Kaplan, Maura Fornataro, Rena Stern, Sherry Dreyfus, Elaine Gallons, Paula Kaplan, Ray Maris, Sadia Bat Rivka, Loretta, oh, I have that name already, Daniel Anna Butler, Susan Robinson, Susan Fall, Malka Bat Ita, Yossel Ben Nochem, Joe Gutman, I think it said.
And Rabbi Siegel from Temple Israel in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh my, a refuah shlema, and as well, Joyce Hazer and Wendy Heuser.
And please add B. Reynolds.
And add Moshe Shraga HaKohen Ben Batya Mina.
Continue. Oh, that's so fast.
Moshe Schreigel HaKohen Bat Ben, who? Sorry.
Whoever just said the last one, it was a little quick. B. Reynolds, we heard. Thank you.
Okay, so I've got Moshe Schreigel HaKohen Ben, I'm sorry, I didn't get the rest of the name.
Sandy, you're muted, honey. Sandy.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Moshe Shrag HaKohen Ben Batya Mina.
Mina. Oh, okay. I thought we had that name. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
We wish all a speedy recovery, and Ellen Wasserman will be leading us today in the Mishaberach. I'll put it on the screen. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Do you see it?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
there it is.
There it is. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we
Yes.
can.
Okay, I just want to say very quickly that I lost my mother 3 weeks ago. I appreciate the Women's League more than I ever knew I did. And I thank you guys for doing this. And it's my pleasure to do this today for you guys. Okay. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema. the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Beautiful. And thank you very much for singing in memory of your mother. I hope I have the name right. Susan Berman Levine.
That's it. Thank you so much.
May her memory continue to be a blessing.
Thank you.
And as we transition to the Mourner's Kaddish, we remember in loving memory those who we say Kaddish for. I have a number of names here that I have. Some are possibly were yurtzites. So if somebody had a yurtzite, I'm still saying the name today, you can just write to me in the chat. But we lovingly remember Evelyn Seelig, Sue Press, Leona Elligberg, Louis Berlin, Hilda Stern, Sylvia Krause, Hope Dellen, Jack Hanowitz, Lillian Benjamin, Bill DeValley, Donnie Russo, Yeshaya Ruvain HaKohen Ben Aharon Varivka, Inez Stanton, Minna Asserman, Phyllis Ackerman, Richard Marhit, Lillian Rappaport, Molly Fishman, Eden Rich, Don Ronan Greenstein, Susan Berman Levine, Avram Ben Hirsch Leib, Lillian Tobias, Susan Berman, Alicia Nimzura, Jenny Slotnick, Helen Goldberger, Mark Schwartz, Dr. J. Marlin, Linda Hornick, Ann K. Wides, Shirley Friedman Shayovitz. And I apologize if I pronounced any names wrong. Are there any other names who are for Kaddish today? Rabbi Sigma Faye Corin from Cincinnati's Rockdale Temple. She passed away. Deepest condolences to her entire community and family. Any others? Okay. Oh. I'm going to switch to the screen with the Mourner's Kaddish, and I'm going to unmute everybody. If you have other background noise, please do try to decrease it. And we're going to begin together shortly. And I'm going to point to the words so we can try to recite this together. To begin. Yitzgadal,
Kaddish, Yamli Malkute, Hayom, Yom, Beit Israel, Amen.
Yehi Shmei Barach Le'olam Omeid Yitzbarach.
What is going to be yummy? Okay, so you say you're open. And restaurants too. I mean, they got to have the whole protocol now.
Shmei Elam Minko Berkata Ishlama Rabba Min Shemaya
Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Romav.
Amazing that the people at Florence would even have flowers yet to do it. Picks up anyway, so.
May all remain a blessing. And if when I unmute everybody, if you could, if you're not going to be saying Mourner's Kaddish, if you could just mute yourself so we don't hear the background noise. I know we're getting better with saying the Mourner's Kaddish together, but I could hear other background information that you might not want everyone to hear too. Wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. And I just want to thank the two people on here who have literally made me a mother. My mother and my mother-in-law are both on. So thank you for creating me and my husband. And also I thank Debbie Green, who the weekend, it was Mother's Day when I met Jonathan at Beth Judea, and Amy had her graduation from Hebrew High School. So Margie, it's all you.
thank you, and thank you again for doing this. And to Ellen, I'm glad we were here for you. And I just looked up Mom on Facebook, and a young woman. I'm so sorry, a young woman. So all of you, happy Mother's Day to everybody, and have a wonderful, safe day. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Happy Mother's Day. Thank you, everybody.
Mother's Day.
Thank you all. See you tomorrow. We also have our Mishnah Brachot tomorrow with Rabbi Amy Levin at 2 o'clock. So good day to all.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's